Guess what?
Tell me.
It's time.
It's time?
I'll tell you that it's incredibly weird to be having an event and needing to look at the phone for the affirmation of how many people showed up tonight. You know, because typically you're like looking out and you're like, oh my goodness, like, ah! I was teasing earlier and I was talking about Romper Room. And some of you may remember Romper Room. Many of you won't remember Romper Room. But it was a show with this really creepy lady who looked in a mirror and she would be like, I see Malcolm, I see Jenny, I see Sarah. And then you like would wait patiently for them to be like, say Sean, say Sean. My sister's name was Shakira, right? She never, ever, ever got called, right? So like, they don't see me. It caused more trauma than was necessary. That has absolutely nothing to do with tonight, but we want to welcome you to our 4th annual Evening of Choice. I'm Sean Good. I had the opportunity to steward the cause as our executive director, and we have with us the most amazing board chair ever in the history of board chairs, Kia Franklin.
Good evening. I'm just so honored to be here too. And I'll say I'm watching on YouTube. I'm monitoring as the numbers keep ticking up. So we've got folks tuning in. It's not as creepy as I don't remember that. I think I might have suppressed that memory. Cool. Or I'm much younger than you too. So
I mean, I wasn't laughing because, but you're right. That's exactly what it is.
That's what it is.
It's not true, but it is. It is.
But it's amazing to be here. This is gonna be amazing. I wish that we all could be in person, but here we are.
Yeah, and I'm grateful for it. Importantly, we're gonna start off the night with a moment of silence. Now, on September 25th last year, we lost a dear brother, friend, and co-laborer in this cause, Vaughn Montenegro. Vaughn was the first person I was able to bring on as full-time staff, but more than that, I worked with him when I was at the Y. He came with me forward, and we really began to build the beginnings of what has grown and blossomed over the course of these last 4 years. And in his passing, he still is with us through the work that we carry with us every day. So we're going to take a brief pause and a moment of reflection for our dear brother, Vaughn Montenegro. Thank you for that, Vaughn. I know that you are proud of the work that we continue to do. We're going to begin our evening with an expression of gratitude to our sponsors. We want to thank Columbia Bank. Special thank you to Amazon. Also, thank you to the Alliance for Gun Responsibility, the Bill and Melinda Gates Discovery. We have, you know what, this is really embarrassing because I was pretty fully persuaded that we were going to be able to read the slides, so I'm not even going to front. We're going to do this like in a real serious kind of way because I want to make sure we get all the sponsors listed here. There we go. We want to thank Sean Dreyer. We also want to thank you know what? What we're going to do is we're going to kick it quickly into our video with our welcome from the chair of our board development committee, and then we'll come right back for the thank you of our sponsors. Thank somebody on mute that you're like, I can't hear you, or you don't have a freeze up. It's not like a really authentic virtual thing. So
it's not 2020.
It is in 2020 if something isn't messed up.
Yep,
all right, so with that, a brief welcome from our board, the chair of our development committee, Kayla Ravancho.
Good evening, and welcome to the 4th annual Evening of Choice. My name is Kayla Ravancho, and I humbly represent the Board of Directors and the Development Committee. Thank you for joining us tonight. Wow, what a year we've had so far. A global pandemic, undeniable acts of racism, natural disasters, hope, despair, love, and loss. Many of us are processing, reflecting, and healing. And quite honestly, it's okay not to be okay. But in these trying times, I truly believe that beauty can be found and that we can come together in a big way. Year after year, the Choose 180 community works to support justice-involved youth. Whether this is your first evening of choice or your fourth, I want to take a moment and acknowledge all that you helped achieve. Your engagement is at the heart of countless stories of growth and transformation. We see you, we celebrate you, and we now invite you on our journey of reimagination. It's time to envision possibilities over problems. The possibility of replacing systems of punishment with investments in youth so that they can experience community before courtrooms. The possibility of partnering with counties across the nation so that they too can implement their own alternatives to incarceration. The possibility of collaborating with local system leaders to change the way youthful behavior is criminalized, with the ultimate goal of reaching zero youth detention within the next 5 years. It's time to step up for the youth of today and to honor those who are no longer with us. Let's lift each other up so that we can build a better future filled with grace and empowerment. This is our year for change. Thank you for choosing to invest in possibility. Our hearts, hugs, and gratitude go out to you for leaning into our cause. Take care, we love you, and enjoy our program.
Thank you, Kayla. And an extension of that gratitude, we do now want to shout out our sponsors of this evening's event. So with that, we want to say thank you to the Alliance for Gun Responsibility,
the Gates Foundation Discovery Center,
Lynn and Bruce Gibson Foundation,
the Helsel Fetterman,
Columbia Bank,
Abdul Kasamali and Justin Jeffers from Justin Focus,
Russ from Street Studio,
S. Dyer's Charitable Fund,
and our lead sponsor, Amazon. We wouldn't be able to do any of this work without our community of support, and so many of you are exactly that. And this year we have a special gift to offer, which is a brief video to explain the impact that you've had. So as we lead into that, we hope that you're able to see what you've allowed us to become by your support of our cause.
The United States of America is a mass incarcerating machine, locking up 2.3 million of its citizens. This country preserves and initiates this scale of punishment, starting with its youngest members, locking up a larger share of its youth population than any other developed nation. Here in King County, 86% of the youth incarcerated in 2019 were Black, Indigenous, or people of color. This is what that process of criminalization looks and feels like for our youth. It begins with their neighborhoods being overly policed. It's a traumatizing, forceful arrest and detainment in intimidating conditions. Standing before a judge who only knows their worst mistake. It's the shame felt when their family cannot afford the legal fees. And being stamped with a public record that labels them a criminal. It's an internalized mindset that diminishes what is possible. Choose 180's work was formed to end the inhumane practices of the juvenile punishment system and be a catalyst for a new way of justice. We support youth to choose a positive new direction for their life. Young people get engaged with Choose 180 at pivotal moments when their behavior is likely to be criminalized through prosecution in court or suspension and expulsion in schools. The amount of support a young person receives following a poor decision can determine their ability to pause, pivot, and commit to a new direction. What young people must know in vulnerable moments is that their mistakes do not define them. Their vision for the future is valuable, and they won't have to take their new path alone. We ensure that their needs are met, like employment, housing, counseling, and community support. Because the majority of our staff have been impacted by the legal system, we understand what young people face, and therefore are suitable mentors that young people can trust. A key component to this work is ensuring that young futures are not held down by tainted criminal records. Our partnership with the prosecuting attorney's offices and legal system stakeholders helps young people avoid a criminal record. Our work creates an alternative for the system to utilize a restorative approach. But what's the impact of this approach? Organizations like ours who use restorative practices have proven over and over to be effective through evidence found in recidivism data. Recidivism is the rate at which a young person re-enters the system. Across the US, studies show that once a young person is put in a detention facility, their chances of recidivism skyrocket to 84%. Young people who are released are extremely unlikely to return to high school. An approach that focuses on healing instead of fixating on punishing results in a completely different outcome. 90% of the young people who come to Choose 180 do not re-engage the criminal legal system. Their success shows a clear way forward, yet the legal system continues spending an exorbitant amount to incarcerate. Locking up a young person costs states an average of $408 per day and up to $149,000 per year. Together, states spend an estimated $5.7 billion annually to imprison youth. These counties, cities, and states that invest in criminalizing behavior are betting against the youth's future. Now we are in a moment that is ready to embrace sweeping changes to a brutal system. The answer is found within the communities most impacted. Implementing community-based solutions will take more than policymakers and community organizations. This work involves every one of us, advocating in our conversations, through our activism, and by appointing the leaders who embrace restorative practices. We must play our part in creating change so that one day, all young people will be seen as possibilities to be developed and not problems to be solved.
Wow, how powerful, Sean. To me, what I take away from that is that we each have a role that we can play. And one of the things that I love about the framing in that story or in that animation is that who are we putting our bet in? Who are we betting on? And I think, when you think about the criminal legal system and how it adds up in terms of the money that's being spent and in terms of the outcomes, and looking at programs like Choose 180 as really showing the way, 90% of students not returning to the system. Yeah. I think it just actually kind of baffles me that we have to even frame this as a possibility. It's a reality that's happening, but I think it's so powerful.
Yeah, and we know that the core of our impact is we've discovered that grace is a far better motivator for behavior change than guilt. Because if you hold somebody accountable to what they did, then they'll constantly be working to make up for that mistake. But if you hold them accountable to who they can be, and you begin to resource that, then the sky is virtually the limit. And that's the whole framing around young people are possibilities to be developed and not problems to be solved. And we feel that way about 2020 as well. And even in the midst of all the problems that we are facing, as an organization and as a community, we still are looking forward towards the possibilities. We have a brief montage of some of our staff and volunteers sharing what possibilities they see for the future. And while they are sharing that out, we have a question to ask you. What possibilities do you imagine in the midst of the problems we see today? Do us a favor and write them down in the chat, and Kia and I will look forward to reading some of the reflections you have as you watch this montage.
I see policing that doesn't harm Black and brown youth.
I see a future where we stop putting kids in jail and instead focus on healing and making sure everyone has their basic needs met.
I imagine a future where young people are allowed to make mistakes and not have to go to jail for them, where second chances are the norm and not the exception.
I imagine a future where white people take responsibility, not just for starting racism, but for ending it.
I imagine a future where education is equitable and we meet our students where they're at.
I see a future where everybody finds a way to sustainably dismantle systematic racism.
I imagine a future where the entire criminal legal system is replaced with community-led solution of restoration.
I know it's going to take a community of people to help solve the problems we face.
I imagine a future where I don't have to imagine the future, where everything that my ancestors fought and died for has come to fruition.
Yeah.
Wow, I love that. Our girl Toya Taylor, Miss Toya Taylor, I love that comment. Collective power is our superpower. That's beautiful.
And our friend Carol says that students being able to make things right with others at school is a possibility that she envisions. Truly restorative and accountable to each other in our shared humanity.
Collective liberation. I see a future where mistakes are opportunities for growth and change, which we all know. I think one of the other things that I love about the way that this organization, our organization, frames this work is that, we all make mistakes, and what we're trying to do is decriminalize typical behavior that human beings, young people in particular. I'm just so glad that, by the grace of God, that, some of the things that, we all typically do as young people, it's just a matter of the roll of the dice in some cases.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and consider like adolescent behavior needing to be criminalized in order for it to change. I mean, young people will always and forever be young. And when we suspend and expel kids for insubordinate behavior, when we know that every teenager that's ever existed has been insubordinate, or when we criminalize young people as a result of the insecurity that they feel in their neighborhood by defending them in ways that may seem problematic to some, but seem responsible to others, on so many layers, the opportunity that's in front of us is so much greater than the incarceration and the archaic methods that should be behind us.
Absolutely.
And that's the future that we must live into together.
I have to chime in with one last future dreaming. I imagine a future where young people of color get a first chance before we talk about a second chance. And I imagine a future where Choose 180 youth are serving an elected office.
Come on.
Yes, that is what we need.
That gets me excited because we just started that advocacy program. So we have 30 young people right now ready to engage in that process. I'm for that. I can absolutely see that future. And part of that future is really built upon the folks that we employ at the cause who really serve the young people day in and day out, folks with lived experience that have gone through the justice system themselves and as a result can speak to the heart of young folks who are at that pivotal moment where if given the opportunity to pause, pivot, and commit to a new direction, they will, but they simply need a guide out of the darkness that they've been lost in. And Javen Pitt, who is one of our team members, is exactly that. And a young man that he's been able to work with, Chris, is just a gift to our cause. And we get a chance to hear from the both of them next in this clip.
What's up,
What up?
You good? Okay.
Cool.
Okay, cool.
So you got the mask on, huh?
Yeah, make sure the Rona don't get me.
Facts.
So, how you been?
I just been chilling.
Okay.
What about you, bro?
Bro, it's the Rona. We got smoke outside. Killer bees and everybody else. 2020 is not doing what it needs to do. And today I have one of my longtime, I don't even call him participant, he my little brother now, he family to us. Christopher Jackson, welcome.
What up?
How you doing today?
How y'all doing?
Man, tell them about you and who you are, man.
Basically, my name is Chris Jackson. Basically, I'm a project baby and elevated to being a young man and learn right from wrong without no guidance. And I self-taught myself a lot, and I made it to this point now in my life. I can say that I'm becoming a grown man, you feel me? So yeah, I think that's about it.
So, man, look, I'm not gonna even lie to y'all. We've had a great day today. We've been laughing all day. So I want y'all to just vibe with us for a minute while we just have a conversation. Chris, real quick, tell us how you felt, or what was your first thought when you got the first letter to come to the workshop?
Basically, I was drove because I thought off rip it was something from the courthouse or whatever catching up to me. So I was like, damn, negative vibes, open it. It's a chance to basically get right. Long story short, read through the letter. I'm like, damn, I'm definitely taking this opportunity to get this shit off.
Okay, cool. All right, so you had a glitch.
Right.
You got in trouble, and we couldn't get you in time for the October workshop, but we did get you there in December.
Right.
when you come to the workshop, you know, you sign in, you get into the workshop. What was your first thought sitting inside the workshop when you first got there?
Well, I was like, I don't care what the they talking about. I'm just about it. You feel me? Just, you hear me? Just sign that paper, let them know I was here, present, take that shit off, and I'm getting the on with my life.
I can see that, because I remember the first time I saw you in the workshop, you had this coat on. The coat didn't look like it fit, because you know you a big dude, you know what I'm saying? The coat, like you had your little brother coat on. But you went through the workshop, you saw the stories, you went through the breakout sessions, you signed out. I think you and I had a conversation. What was your thought about the workshop after the workshop?
I was like, basically mind blown, open-minded to it. I was not in a facility where I was all alone. You know what I'm saying? Y'all could relate to what I've been through. I could relate to what y'all talking about. Everybody got a pass. Ain't nobody perfect was in that room, is what I got the big picture of. And I was being accepted to being under somebody's wing, I guess.
Okay.
And I didn't really know how to feel.
We met up at Panda Express. What was your first thought about me when we first met?
First thought was like, I'm not really trying to hear all that. I'm just trying to get put on, you feel me? A good paying government job, that's all I was worried about. I didn't really care about being friends, all the other stuff. I wasn't here to smile on nobody's face.
And I remember that conversation because I saw how tight you were. I closed the laptop and I told you my story. What was your thoughts then?
I don't know, like I met my big brother or something after that. Time passed and I was like, that's my big bro.
That's what's up, man. Don't make me cry.
Relax.
All right, bet. True. Never. So I figured out, we talked about what you needed. I got you a job. We got you a job. Choose One Lady got you a job at Tough Shed. We supplied you with the tools, bus passes, and things of that nature. Let's talk about how you felt on your first day at Tough Shed.
Nervous as hell, but I know I could do the job, and I just felt like I was happy, I was blessed, stressed, relieved, dead weight took off my shoulder. I could stand up straight like a man, handle my business.
Let's talk about your reaction, because your background came back. And at first it wasn't a problem, but then it came back and they had to let you go. Explain to me your reaction on how you reacted losing the job at Tough Shed versus pre-workshop if you would have lost your job because of your background.
Basically how I felt about it, I was just mad, and I was like a little dark cloud over my head, and you was like, bro, don't do nothing stupid. I was like, okay, bro, I won't. Well, I know I wasn't about to do nothing stupid, because I already had some shit pending, and I can't keep adding fire to my, adding oil to the fire.
Right. And I know that feeling because I did time. You know, I did 4 years in prison. I know how that feels when your background comes up, you're trying to get on top. And I'm not gonna lie, honestly, I did not know what you were going to do.
No.
All I knew was that I had to be consistent in calling you, checking on you, you know what I'm saying, being there for you, because I know that feeling where when you ain't got nobody, your mentality will basically say, I ain't got no choice. And being there, it was rough. I'm not gonna lie, because I'm like waking up in the morning like, what Chris gonna do? Let me check in on him. Let me text him. You made it past that. You made it past that. You're still working on your current troubles that you're working in right now. Let's talk about the time from about January till about May, around when COVID got really serious. Let's talk about how your housing. You finally got somewhere, you got your own place. How do you feel in your own place?
How that boy said, I feel good. That stupid ass. Oh God. Nah, but for real, I felt good. I felt real good. Like, you know, I kept faith alive, and God heard me talking. God heard me talking. That's all I can really say. God heard me talking.
We had a conversation today where one of the things that we talked about when we were sitting down eating was where you were at on the workshop.
Where I was at.
And where you were at today, a year ago. Like, where you were at when we were sitting down eating at Panda Express, and how far you've come today, and how much better you look, how stronger you look. In a year's time, as we've been in contact with each other, talk about that.
Different struggles every day, but they getting more easy to defeat.
What are you doing to defeat?
Having a clear mind, just being more humble about stuff, knowing I'm gonna get through it. It's not gonna haunt me forever. What I'm really doing is not getting mad about it, like right off bat, cause you know how you get some bill in the mail or whatever text, you get mad. I don't really get mad. I don't really get mad off rip.
Okay.
No more.
How did you feel going from being in the workshop to being a part of the workshop as a volunteer?
I felt that was a big step, and y'all see something in me that I didn't see at first. And I just know I had the faith, but I didn't know I was more than what I thought I was.
Okay. So now, Chris, your whole life, you've been doing things on your own, solo. Hard mentality, hard street life.
Yep.
The last 2/3 of the year, a lot has changed. What changed?
Basically, I have no trust for nobody. I trusted you in what you told me, and I had faith in what you told me, and the results showed me for itself. I made the right decision to listen instead of being a knucklehead and take money out of other people's pocket. And that's when I realized I really elevated and become a grown young man.
That's what's up, man. That's, and I appreciate that, because sometimes it's not easy to trust people.
Yeah, nah.
It ain't. If you could tell anyone, any friends on the street, about Choose 180 and what it did for you, tell them.
Right now?
Right now. Tell them right now. What would you tell them?
Word up. If you ever need somebody to talk to or reroute your map and goals and where you want to end up at, holler at them. Real talk.
Man, it's been a joy, watching you grow, mentor. I learned from you, so in a way you also mentored me, and that's one of the things I love about this program is that we may not always have the answer, but together we'll always figure it out. And we'll go down that road together. And so, man, I appreciate everything you've done, how you've grown. I appreciate you teaching me stuff. I appreciate you allowing me to mentor into you and to pour into you, man. So it's been an honor and a privilege.
For real. And thank you for guiding me on my journey that's not ending no time soon. For real. Oh, we do stay in touch and all that.
You leaving me? Where you trying to leave me? Dang, bro. I hope we do start. See, this is what we got to deal with in Choose 180, y'all. We got to deal with this knucklehead. I hope we stay in touch. We've been in touch for a year. Shoot. Nah, I'm just playing. All right. So, Chris, you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, let's go. Put our masks on, practicing social distance.
Mask off.
Put your mask on.
This is different.
He putting his mask on, y'all. We are.
Whole time is upside down, but you feel me? All
Man,
right, brother.
let's go.
Oh, man.
Man, when Dan Satterberg first reached out to Doug Wheeler and said that we have a challenge in our community because we're not serving our black and brown kids well, and because Dan said our and Doug Wheeler leaned in and they co-created what at that time was called the 180 program, relationships like the one that Javen fostered with Chris is exactly what he had envisioned. that we'd be able to build meaningful relationships with young people. Through those relationships, demonstrate that their life is full of possibilities beyond the circumstances that they've had to live through. And because of those possibilities, the sky is the limit. Man, I'm honored by Chris and his transparency and how raw and authentic that time together with Javen was.
Absolutely. I'm honored to have had the opportunity to hear their conversation. So thank you so much to Javen and to Chris. Chris, young man, your leadership light is shining, and no, you are not going anywhere. We're so thankful for it. Just so powerful. And one of the things I was thinking about was, again, we're virtual, we're not in person, but this actually does remind me of my first encounter with Choose 180 at the Evening of Choice, an in-person Evening of Choice, not a few years ago. And at that time, I wasn't aware of, I had never attended a workshop. I wasn't aware of some of the resources, the coaching, the mentoring, the support resources that are provided to young people. But, and I think this mini video kind of also demonstrates that, you can tell that there is something special happening and something transformational happening. And so there may be some folks who are tuning in to YouTube or on Facebook Live who were just invited by a friend maybe and are introducing themselves to Choose 180 for the first time. And there are probably some folks who knew the program, before it was, way before any Evening of Choice. So I just want to acknowledge the folks who are tuning in and say thank you and say welcome, and just acknowledge that you showed up. After a long day of work or school or caregiving or all of the above, we all showed up. And I think, why did we show up? It's because we want to celebrate the good work that Choose 180 is doing. We want to celebrate young people like Chris, but also we showed up because we know that young people are possibilities, are full of potential, are not problems to be solved, and in fact have solutions. They have the solutions, and so that's why we're here tonight. And speaking of Evening of Choice, this is actually where our viewers, where everyone has the opportunity to think of Evening of Choice as our opportunity to choose. So not just to choose to celebrate the good work, which I think we need to do that, but it's also our opportunity to contribute to the cause by way of giving. And just to be clear, this is typically every Evening of Choice is more about building community than raising capital. But now more than ever, I would say, we need each other. We need each other to sustain and improve and expand the impact of this community, of this movement. And so, we can't not remind ourselves of the ways that we can all contribute. And one of those ways is by giving. And I think typically we ask, specifically say, if you would pledge $50 a month. I think this year what we wanted to do was really, because 2020, really ask folks to think, what's meaningful to me? What is the investment that I want to choose to make into a transformative justice movement, and make that contribution? You should see in the chat for folks tuning in a link, but you can go to choose180.org/donate, and we're going to ask you to just give what's meaningful to you. And I want to make sure that I don't miss any notes here, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we've created a little bit of an incentive. So I haven't traveled anywhere since March, and that's probably the case for lots of folks. So for any individual who is a current monthly donor who wants to increase their donation, for anyone who wants to give a one-time donation of $600 or pledge a monthly contribution of $50, you'll be entered into a raffle, and a lucky winner will receive one night free stay at Cedarbrook Lodge in SeaTac. That place is beautiful. It's lush. It's very zen. And I don't know, this is the end of a long night of Zoom day meetings. So for me, I definitely am thinking about the greenery and just the beautiful space of that location. But really, that's just that's a token. That's a token of appreciation, and it doesn't begin to truly express our gratitude for this community who's contributing to the cause, who believes in this movement, and who says, I want to invest. I believe that, you know, young people should be surrounded by community and not convictions. Who want to be a part of a transformative justice movement. There was someone else who put in the chat that they see a future where young people, particularly young BIPOC young people, can walk the streets without being fearful. Yeah. And I'd say that this is really part of changing a whole system. This is one part of a larger system. So we are all a community here. The Choose 180 family thanks our donors. Thanks new and old. Please come back, those of y'all who continue to support the organization. We continue to need you. And to those who are making that first contribution tonight, we just thank you. We are so appreciative of you being a part of this community.
And we want to extend further thanks to the broader community that helped this entire evening come together. We want to a big thank you to our board, our staff, sponsors, who we alluded to in the beginning, and then again in the beginning, I appreciate your grace. Our volunteers, the creative team, Chris and Javen for leaning in with vulnerability, Yasmin, and everyone else who made this event possible. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We have a brief exit video with the team, and then we're going to transition into a 15-minute period of time where I'm going to do some question and answers for whoever would like to hang out and ask me anything personally or professionally. I can tell you about how grateful I was that I still fit into this suit after putting on the COVID-19.
Can folks ask you to rap?
We can take it back to my high school rap star days. I could do that too. I'm more than happy to lean into that. But really, for those of you that will be exiting out after this last clip, I'm humbled, I'm grateful, and I'm overwhelmed by your love. Our community has grown dramatically over the course of these last 4 years. Our ability to serve has grown dramatically as a result of each and every one of you. From the couple hundred young people we are serving on a yearly basis to the almost 700 youth and young adults we'd support in a non-COVID season. This has only happened because you choose us and you are our community. And because of you, we build community around young people, and together we envision a world where we see nothing but possibilities that need to Can you see me okay? Stand up? Okay. I'll stand up. All right. Here's the really special part. There is a bit of a delay of about 15 seconds or so. So people may ask a question, and then I may not actually get the question for another couple seconds. But I'm on chat looking for it now. I'm going to transition between the Facebook and the YouTube, but I'm also going to lean into my moderators up there. If there's questions being asked, if you could lean in and let me know, I'd appreciate it. Or not, and we could have this really awkward thing where I stand here and I could tell dad jokes. I told a dad joke earlier tonight. I'll tell it again because it's one of my favorite. Why did the bicycle stop moving? Because it was too tired. Get it? Too tired. Too tired. Yeah, probably not. I'm glad that that's not my profession. That could be problematic. Moderators, do we have anything coming in through the chat? Okay, you're gonna text me, perfect. That works. I love technology, y'all. I promise that I'm grateful. Go ahead. How do we find our clients? Great question. So we are able to engage young people in a variety of different ways. Primarily, what happens is a young person will do something that young people do. But because they live in a neighborhood that's overly policed, that behavior is criminalized, like get into a fight or steal something. And when that behavior is criminalized, then the young person, typically the police will send the referral to the prosecutor, and historically the prosecutor then sends the referral to the court. But because of our relationship, the prosecutor then sends the referral directly to Choose 180, and our community navigators then go out and connect with the young person, build an intentional relationship. And in a non-COVID season, we invite them to our 4-hour workshop, and by participating in that workshop, their charges get dismissed and they get the opportunity to receive community instead of a criminal conviction and grace instead of guilt. We also engage young people through a couple other ways in partnership with the courts and with the schools, where young people who would likely be suspended or expelled get referred directly to us. Another way we get young people is community referrals. Folks reach out to our organization and say, man, I got a young person who could really benefit from somebody like Javen in their life. Can you help us out? And we engage them, bring them into the fold, teach them our compass so they can have a decision-making tool that will be an agent of change for their life, and give them the support they need to honor their commitment to a new direction. Great question. Did we get another one? I'm getting texts. What sort of programs are we developing? Really great question. So a couple things that we're working on right now that's incredibly exciting. One of the things we're working on is an advocacy program. As a result of the social unrest, many of the young people who we support wanted to create a platform for themselves to be able to speak up and speak out and see systemic change occur. And we believe that it's our responsibility to create the space for those young people. And so we're currently working with 30 young folks and creating that platform for them to be able to step up, step out, and have their voices be heard, so that way the system can change in the direction that they see, because the voices of our young people are so prophetic and so incredibly important. That's one of the things I'm incredibly excited about. And we're also currently working on some program expansion stuff with the state of Utah and the state of Pennsylvania, where we're going to soon be teaching counties in those areas how to do work like ours, and finding the appropriate nonprofit partners in those areas to be able to lead this work, so that way their young people can commit to a new direction as well. Let's see. What do you think the biggest preconception that is incorrect about the participants at Choose 180? Yeah, one of the challenges is that people have this Law and Order version of crime and punishment, right? That that everything happens quickly, swiftly, and it should be like gung gung, an hour later another gung gung, and we've solved 2 hideous cases. But that's not really the way the world works. And one of the biggest misconceptions is that we support young people who are committing crimes. We support young people whose behavior has been stigmatized as criminal. Let me explain to you what I mean by that. Neighborhoods in impoverished areas are overly policed. Now, things that happen in schools that young people do, like fighting and stealing, that always happens. Usually parents will work that out. But in schools where police are there, and then that turns into a crime, and then that becomes a bigger thing. Or schools where young people are being suspended and expelled regularly for what's deemed as insubordinate behavior. When, like I mentioned earlier, every young person's been insubordinate, but because of implicit bias that insubordination is threatening, then the kid gets kicked out of class, and now the kid is left alone in their neighborhood to their own devices, absent of adult supervision or a safe community. So I think one of the greatest misconceptions is that there's something different about the young people we serve. If anything's different about them, it's their resiliency, it's their grit, and their determination to see themselves different than the way the rest of the world typically looks at them. Let's see. We started as an organization in 2011 in partnership with the prosecuting attorney's office. I alluded to it earlier this evening, but essentially the prosecutor realized that they were failing Black and brown kids, and they needed community to help get it right. And community launched a program to be able to serve young folks that are from the community, and since then we've grown dramatically, because it's true that young people do much better when the community is supporting them than when the criminal legal system is supporting them. Where did I get that tie? That's a great question. I'm pretty sure I got it from the Men's Warehouse. But thanks for the nod to the tie. When was the last time you were surprised by something you experienced as a part of Choose 180? You know, I'll tell you the truth. I'm surprised most every single day. And often it's because of people who opt into our community of support, whether I see another gift come across, or somebody reaches out with an affirmation, or somebody says, hey, I recognize that from someplace. Choose 180, that sounds familiar. Or a testimony from a young person comes across, or a staff member talks about a transformative moment they just had. Or there's so many things that happen daily. I'm in a constant state of shock and surprise. When we began this journey, when I began in January 2017 together, I did not imagine that we would be serving this many young people over the course of a year. I didn't imagine that we'd have behavioral health specialists and a summer internship program, that we would be doing all these different things so quickly. I had a vision for what could be, but we've executed it so much faster than I could have ever imagined. And that execution has only been possible because of each and every one of you. Because you saw it, you believed it, and leaned into it. And because of that, we've been able to push this thing forward. Where do I envision Choose 180 5 years from now? That's a really great question. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I hate 5-year plans. I do. Maybe because of the way I grew up, I never really think about tomorrow until tomorrow comes. I do believe that we can be an organization that's providing technical assistance nationally, so municipalities across our country will have restorative justice programs in place in lieu of their traditional criminal punishment system. I believe that we'll live in a city that there's 0 youth in detention. I believe we'll live in a city where the mayor would allocate resources directly to community to distribute those resources that came from divestment from law enforcement. Those are all things that I believe can be possible, and I'll continue to speak into existence. But I know that no matter what I see, none of that will be unless we get there together, because this journey towards justice requires each and every one of us. Things that have changed because of COVID. One of the big changes because of COVID is we couldn't meet in our groups anymore, so we pivoted and do everything virtual, kind of like this event. We thought it was going to be a really big deal, but our young people were already really accustomed to one-on-one engagement virtually. Believe it or not, young folks are perfectly fine talking to people through a screen. It's not really my jam, but I'm getting old out here, so it is what it is. But we've been really surprised at the impact that we've been able to have and the connections that we've been able to build with young people, even through the Zoom platform. How receptive are businesses to assisting you by providing jobs and resources? Generally speaking, nobody really wants to put kids in cages, right? Like, most people don't want kids to go to jail. What they want is young people to make better choices. And when they understand that our organization can facilitate that absence of jail, most people lean in and they want to do whatever they can. And so, there's folks that often say, well, we'll help employ young people, young adults, and when they do, it's a blessing. Because then we have a direct line to an opportunity, not just for a young person to get a living wage, but for a young person to see themselves as valued by an employer, and an employer that understands the value of folks with lived experience and the grit and determination that they have as a result of what they've overcome. I'll probably answer one last question, and then we'll need to transition off. What happens to the youth that go through your program? How do you envision community care? Yeah, I always talk about us as an emergency room, and that we have the privilege to engage people at critical moments, triage them, help them get well enough, and then refer them out to primary care and specialty practitioners throughout the community. I believe it's imperative that young people have more than a person. When I led a gang and group intervention team in South King County, one of the things we did really well was build intentional one-on-one relationships with young people. But when that outreach worker had to transition that young person off the caseload and engage other young people, that young person's behavior would begin to slip and they'd start making other choices because that one-to-one connection wasn't enough. And young people need a community. And we have the privilege and the liberty to build that community of care and that community of support around each and every young person, much like you are our community of care and community of support around our organization. Family, I'm gonna be 100 with y'all. This was really awkward tonight. I miss being in space with you. My heart aches that I can't look out to a crowd and I'm looking out into a screen, not because I want to see the numbers, but because I want to see the faces, the eyes, and the many hearts that lift us up every single day. So thank you for pouring into Choose 180. Thank you for your commitment to our cause. And thank you for seeing young people as possibilities to be developed and not problems to be solved.